All right. Welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in the studio back at HQ, joined by Randy Ingston. What's up, buddy?
How we doing?
Good.
It has. It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Nick's back in town. Nick was, what were you doing, Nick? Filming for Iron Circle members. Yep. Just flying around the country, filming things. Got a great episode for y'all today. Today we're talking about how to break revenue ceilings. You know, there's a point in time that you find yourself kind of up against the ceiling where you just can't get past a certain number, be it 30,000. That seems a very typical one, 35K, 70K. There's these little revenue ceilings that gyms face, both in revenue, but also in member count. And, you know, you find yourself wondering, what can I do to get past this? How do I, break through this and keep going and not come back down? Because that's the other thing. I've seen it happen where you get past it and then you go right back down. And there's a lot of reasons why you can't get past something. But we're going to talk about the things you can do to break through those ceilings. And, there's a million different ways to skin this thing. We found ourselves here for a long time, kind of just toying and up and down with this 200 member of training, semi-private training member number, trying to get there, be 150, 170, 150, 160, 180, 170, and we just kind of go up and down. And we started looking at a lot of different things. And when we work with gyms, we do look at capacity as one of those things. How busy are you? Are those hours really full? Can you do more than, I wouldn't recommend if you're doing semi-private doing more than 6-1, but are you at 4-1 right now? Can you go to 5-1? Because that was the first thing we did.
Yep.
We started the model at 4-1. And then we went to 5-1, and then we went to 6-1, and that was the easiest thing you can do because you're every time from going from 4 to 5, you're increasing your capacity by 20% or 25%. Really, you're adding that extra one of the 4. So without any additional cost to payroll, because the way that we structure our salaries for our coaches, it's a literally clock in, clock out type of scenario. We're not getting per head or per session. They're getting per hour here.
Yeah.
And when we added capacity or added that one extra person, it was an instantaneous uptick to our revenue.
Yep.
No, but you may find yourself in a semi-private gym or even a large group or a one-on-one, maybe. Let's just say that you're already at your max capacity. If you're at a private gym and you're doing one-on-ones for an hour, the only way to scale that is to do half hours. You have 2 clients per hour.
Or more, a longer work day.
Or work more hours.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the simplest one to say, oh my gosh, this probably isn't the best solution for us. We're not going to get a great workout in a half hour. I mean, some gyms that claim they do, I'd be, curious to see how that works. But you're either going to go to a half hour or add more hours.
Yep.
Because you're a private training gym, right? With semi-private, if you're finding yourself, hey, we're stuck at, or we're only doing 4 clients, that's an easy one, going to 5. And then with the large group model, you can add infinite a lot of times. I mean, and I'm guessing there's not a whole lot of gyms that have 50 or 60 or 80 people showing up for one workout. And we know based on numbers that the average people per class is 6 anyway, right? So you look at the hours of the day. That's the next kind of logical step. We work with a lot of gyms where, the first session of the day might be 6 a.m. or even 7 a.m. And then they stop training somewhere around 10 and they come back at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Well, there's a whole big chunk of the middle of the day that you can grow into that will allow you to take on more clients, because the thing that we're hearing a lot of times is we're at capacity during these hours.
Yeah.
We can't get past this revenue ceiling. Well, yeah, maybe your 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. are fully, booked up.
Yeah.
But what about that 5 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you add an hour on the front end of this, and then add something around 10 o'clock and then an 11 o'clock, and then start in the afternoon and come in an hour earlier? And, you hear it all the time. We don't want to add hours if we don't have clients to train.
Yeah, it seems to be a big hang up. Excuse me. I think a lot of gym owners are afraid of, it's the chicken and the egg dilemma, right? You don't want to expand your payroll and you don't want to pay for somebody to quote unquote stand around or train 2 of the 6 or things like that. But at the end of the day, like nobody's going to buy something that you don't have available. And so if you're not going to expand on the schedule, if you're not going to allow more people into your business, you're stuck. You've created the glass ceiling, you've created that problem, and you have to look at opportunities like this or solutions like this if you do want to, get further and farther.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I think the biggest key ticket there is the structure of pay. Like you've got it here where you're not paying per head, you're not paying per session, there's not a variable rate necessarily. It mitigates a lot of that fear. You know that you can absorb the cost of one more training session per day because of the potential with
well, that's the funny thing. We were talking before this episode started, and it's like, well, a lot of gym owners are risk averse once they're into their business. They don't want to risk putting that extra hour on the session because of the cost to the business. And I'm like, you took a risk when you opened the business. Like that is the biggest risk. A lot of you put your house on the line,
Absolutely.
Personal guarantee. If you're not willing to put an hour at 11 a.m., what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you created the problem if you're not willing to add the hours.
And then even if you talk about, like what does it take to actually, like how big is that fear itself too? You know what I mean? What do we need in order to not be spending more money and yet be ahead, right? One client at that per session.
Yeah.
Like that as a business owner who's in charge of the marketing, who's typically in charge of the sales process or, has their hand close to that. Like this is your time to go shine, right? Now you've got to set the team up for success. So put them in the position to go be able to train for that additional hour and go source one more client. And guess what? You're already back to the black. Like let's move forward.
Yeah, exactly. Now you have 5 more slots. Like again, we a lot of stuff we talk about is about semi-private training because that's what we believe in. But obviously, the one-on-one, same thing, right? If you add that 12 o'clock session, then you got to fill it, right? Like that. I would rather have the pressure and knowing the goal is to expand the business, and I just got to find people to fill that slot. That's easy.
Like I think some of it might come back to the fact that true capacity or true, like looking at the 4 walls of the business, if you consider all opportunity when it comes to an hourly basis, right? Like, so from a 5 a.m., let's say 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. type of thing, how many of those opportunities, how many true sessions, serviceable sessions do you have in that amount of time? That's where your capacity number should come into play, not just based on the schedule that you have already in place. You know what I mean? Because like if you go to, like, let's say a restaurant, for example, very rarely, unless it's maybe fine dining, that might be one of the only examples of where like the middle of the day they actually close. You might have a brunch or a lunch crew, couple hour gap, and then they come back for dinner type of thing. But other than that, most businesses run open to close. You know what I mean? And so as a gym, if you want to serve as many people as possible, what's wrong with having, training slots on the schedule from the second you guys show up to the second you guys leave at the end of the day?
Yeah, fill them up.
Yeah.
Fill them up. So that's one way to get through a revenue ceiling is to add availability to then alleviate any capacity issues that you're having, right? Another thing is raise rates.
Sure.
Okay, you can raise rates. We've gone through this, ad nauseum across different ways to raise rates and, raising them for the new clients only or doing a global price change. That'll change your revenue ceiling immediately, and it's just a math equation, nothing to be afraid of there. Selling more things to your clients, higher ticket stuff, one-off programs, elite style training, adding in supplements or nutrition programs or massage therapy or recovery sessions, shakes, all the things that you could do to break a revenue ceiling. But just standing there and be like, hey, we're out of revenue ceiling, I don't know how to get past it. The other thing that you could take a look at, and depending on the size of your facility, if you have one coach on the floor, can you get 2 coaches on the floor?
There you go.
If you have one coach, just think about it this way. If you have one coach with 6 clients on the training floor doing semi-private training, can you do 2 with 4 each? And now you're, technically you've increased your capacity by 2
more. Sure.
Is it worth it based on the pay of the new coach? Maybe, probably. Probably. Can you do 5 and 5? Can you do 5 and 4? Can you do 6 and 4?
Or maybe that's where maybe you do have limited floor space and you've got your 6, and then you have the availability of doing a one-on-one high ticket
over in the corner,
something else, or you've got one area reserved for private training. Yeah. And again, it shouldn't be similar to what you're offering in that semi-private, right? This has to be something that's going to warrant a much higher cost, because at the end of the day, they're paying for that exclusivity, and they need to pay for the exclusivity, right? Especially if you have a business that's capable of, let's say, maybe doing 4 and 4 or 5 and 4 or something like that. They have to make up the difference
of all 4 of those
all
clients.
4 of the exactly, because at the end of it, it's a math problem. Capacity.
It's a revenue per hour.
And that's there. I'm glad you said that. That's probably one of the biggest eye-opening conversations that we have with gym owners is member count is one thing. All of it comes down to how much money can you as a business make per hour. It's like a restaurant saying, how many tables on average are we turning over per hour, right? They're focused on turnover and increasing, serving as many, meals and drinks as they can per hour. That's how our sessions, work in the gym.
The restaurant business is interesting because it's very easy for them to reprint menus and just add 10% to all the items. Sure. That's like the simplest
for a rate change.
Rate change. They they don't have anybody on set memberships. Do you think a 10% increase? And you don't have to advertise it in a restaurant. You just change your menus.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the cost of printing and whatever it costs to put it in the POS system. Like it's so
pretty
simple.
Pretty much, yeah.
10%. You can instantly increase your margins by 10%.
Well, and in that situation too, right? Those people are coming in unaware that there is a change, and then you've already got them in the seat. Chances are they're not getting up and leaving because of a 10% change from the last time that they were in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if a restaurant went away from like the $9.99s, and we're off topic, I know that, but like the drink being $2.50 for a Coke or whatever it is, if they just did the pricing like $10.17, like what, that wouldn't make any difference to the end consumer.
No.
We'll go tell Chef Dave to raise
maybe we got to move Dave to a membership base.
Dude, that would be cool.
Wouldn't that be cool? EFT based restaurant.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, because the advantage of the gym industry or the fitness industry has memberships, right? Yeah. And there's all these other businesses trying to get in on the membership game. Look at Joint Chiropractic.
Yep.
Okay, they have a membership. I just renewed the Scottsdale Gun Club membership. The membership doesn't get the membership of the Scottsdale Gun Club gets you access to the lanes, shooting bays, and you get a price discount on ammo and accessories. But you're basically paying $30 a month or $34 a month for the year. They're guaranteeing that recurring revenue.
Yep.
Gyms, this is built into our model to begin with, right? Like we have this beautiful thing at our fingertips, but yet there's too many marketing gurus and sales coaches out there into the market pushing high ticket or paid in full or front end programs to get this influx of cash. But it either one cannibalizes your EFT or two gives you no EFT. And now now you're putting yourself into the most competitive business, like a restaurant. The restaurant is the most competitive business. They're the highest failure rates of all small businesses. Oh, yeah. Why? They don't have recurring revenue. Why on earth would you put yourself in a position where you're giving away the best advantage we have as a gym?
And their inventory expires quick.
That's another big
downside. But think about that. If they move to a membership base and you knew on average how many people on average, and that's a big part of what we can leverage or stand on, that they don't have they don't know how many people on average, but I mean, I'm sure they do now if they're open and, they know how many meals they serve on a typical day type of thing and stuff like that, but they don't really use that to their advantage. I guess it does in inventory, but if they move to a membership base, it'd be that much greater. Think about
a restaurant. I mean, again, staying off topic here. What if our buddy Chef Dave, he's our chef that comes to our Iron Circle events and, he does other shit. What if they did a $20 a month membership?
That's what I'm saying.
When you come in, when you buy a meal, you get a free coffee. That's part of that membership, and you get 10% off your bill. And you just get billed in perpetuity. It's open-ended. You cancel any time. But he's got, several hundred people that are paying that $20. whether or not they come in or not.
Exactly.
And over the long term, he will win.
Yep.
100% he will win. Just like you and your gym and your memberships, even if you have an unlimited training membership like we do, on average at the masses, we know 11 times a month is the average the unlimited member comes in to train on frequency.
Yep.
So do your math against your margins, against your cost per payroll. How are you looking? We look great.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, we look great over here because of our membership. It's just because it's the numbers and the averages. So I know this was about breaking through revenue ceilings. You could, here's another thing we did. We needed a cash infusion, but we did a lifetime membership.
Yep.
That's another thing. And if you want to go listen to one of those episodes, but we sold a lifetime membership for $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
Sold a few. We had a lot of commitments back out. They're still here, which is weird. Like they'd be halfway through the benefits if they just would have bought the thing back then. But that was a big cash influx for us to help with the construction cost and the $500,000 remodel that we did here with the equipment and everything. So it's selling higher prices, selling more things. It's more customers. And if you can't take on more customers, it's adding capacity. How do you do that? You add hours, you add amount of people per hour. Can you get another coach in there for like the high ticket one-on-one over in the corner? That's another option. You got profit centers. You've got, we covered a million things without even trying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the biggest thing is when you come to that position, you have to make a decision. You have to do something. You know what I mean? And I think that's the problem is a lot of gym owners get there and they get stuck. They get fearful. Mm-hmm. They get in the position of, okay, there's kind of some of these options out there. I don't know which one's the best for me, so I'm going to do none of them. But it's constant. We hear the conversation all the time. At the end of the day, we know gyms need to make more money. We know what we serve, what we provide is worth a hell of a lot more than what we can actually charge in the marketplace.
Right.
And yet for gym owners to be in a position to be scared of selling more of those or raising their rates or going and opening up their service options, you have to pull the trigger. At the end of the day, we do it with gyms every day. We watch it with our, here. There's plenty out there winning, but if it's the action takers that are doing it, it's not those that think about it, talk about it, and then do nothing. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that out there.
Because the risk averse. But just put it to you this way. You took the risk when you opened the business.
Yep.
You took the risk when you took on employees. You took the risk when you when you signed the lease. You took the risk when you invested in the equipment, right? You took the risk when you left your other job. What are we talking about here? Like, take the one extra littler risk to make the business make more money and more profits.
Yeah.
So then you can stick around for the long term.
And I'll throw one thing out there too. A lot of the conversation when we find gym owners that are in this position that haven't extinguished those options yet, right? They're still out there, but then they're instantly thinking about opening up a second location, as if that's going to be easier than a global rate change, than expanding your hours, than all of those things. Like, you damn well better be sure that you've extinguished all of those opportunities and created as much wealth with that first location before even considering splitting time, energy, and effort.
Well, right. In a perfect situation, your first smaller location or whatever it is, bigger or smaller, every hour's at like 80% capacity. Your prices are at the highest you can charge for that area. Your coaches are on salaries and hourly rates that clock in, clock out. You've got enough hours in the day on your schedule. You don't have these giant gaps of 5 to 6 hours in the middle of the day, not training at 5 a.m., not training at 8 p.m. Like, those are all your things. If you have all of those and you're still not making enough money, two things are happening. One, you're in Manhattan and your rent is, for 1,500 square foot, you're paying like 20 grand. That's one. You're just margined out. Two, your overhead's too high with your coaches. That'd be the other thing.
Could be.
And I've seen that. I've seen coaches making 70% of the revenue.
Yeah.
Should be the opposite. Should be 30%, right? And no, I'm not being greedy. I'm just saying, hey, the risk is on your side of the plate, not theirs.
Yeah, they're not responsible for putting people in the gym. They're not responsible for the cost of the maintenance and the equipment and buying the equipment and furnishing. Yeah, exactly. They got to show up and train. Yeah. A few other, obviously there's other responsibilities on our trainers.
Gym owners, stop paying your coaches 70%. And I've even seen 100% of the revenue on personal training in a CrossFit gym go to the coach.
Yep.
You're a moron.
I've seen that a number of times.
That's moronic.
Yep.
Like, what are you doing? You deserve to go out of business, honestly, if you're that stupid.
You're not a very competent business owner. That's
business acumen's lacking. You got an F.
Yeah.
Go back to school.
Yeah. One of the things that you were talking about earlier too, about the high ticket stuff and the whether it be challenges or all that, the cash infusion type mentality. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you're here because you want to be in the fitness industry. In those positions, you have a marketing and a sales company that fulfills a fitness need. You know what I mean? Like, all your time and attention has to be marketing and sales. Your gym is the least.
You're a churn machine too. You're just losing people every 6 weeks. You're losing people.
Yeah, absolutely. And as opposed to doing it the other way, where our conversation is always about the client experience. Mm-hmm. It's always about how do we deliver something that they can't get somewhere else.
Well, when you get to that side of the line, when you're focused on keeping the clients for the long term, retention's at the top of mind. Yes, everything that you do is about client experience and keeping your clients for the long term.
Yeah.
And now you get to focus on the fun stuff.
And it's one of those things where nobody's talking, like, if you're talking about the client experience constantly, the chances of you having a retention problem are slim to none, right? Because you're delivering an exceptional product, and those people are getting a service that you're very clear they're enjoying. And therefore, they want to stay in your business. That's probably the easiest way to handle a retention problem is deliver a better product, service. Yeah. But instead of doing that, they're focused on, it's so much of that short-term, immediate gratification. Yep. They're not building the business that serves the business owner and the business itself. They're grasping at straws.
Well, tip is critical because those gym owners, when the client walks in the door and they want a quick fix, they laugh. They're like, what are you thinking? This isn't how it works. But yet, they'll be the first one to go and do a challenge or a quick cash infusion because they just want it now. Just the same thing your client wants. But you're doing it and you're not, you laugh at them.
There you go. Yeah. You are operating with the same mentality the people that are coming into your business are coming in with, and you're telling them it's not okay, and you're doing it for yourself. It's
human nature.
Sure, absolutely.
It's the easiest path, but with the most side effects. So
it's the easiest path today. It's
most side effects.
The hardest long-term.
Ozempic. Let's look at Ozempic. All right, that's it for this episode, guys. Hopefully you broke through your revenue ceiling on this call today, on this podcast. That's it for the show, guys. Until next time, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show. Bye.
All right, and thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals, and when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.